MS Now is on the ground in California with Jillian Frankel covering the governor's race. Our Nnamdi Egwuonwu tracking the mayoral results. Also with us, Larry Sabato, the director of the University of Virginia's Center for Politics, known for Sabato's crystal ball, and senior data editor and columnist at CT Insider, Philip Bump. Jillian, the governor's race is still a toss-up at this point in the vote count. Give us the state of play right now.
Anna, good morning. Some 58% of the expected vote has been counted here in California. And as you mentioned, Republicans Steve Hilton, the former Fox News host, and Javier Becerra, former HHS secretary and a former congressman here in California, are in the lead, followed by Tom Steyer, a billionaire hedge fund founder. We heard these candidates address their supporters last night, sounding optimistic and laying out some of the most important issues at stake in this race, things like housing affordability, cost of living concerns, homelessness. I want you to hear from these candidates directly about those issues. Take a listen.
We've been fighting because we're not going to let somebody turn back our clock. We are not going to do that. We are going to
launch a building revolution in California. In America's wealthiest nation state, no excuse is acceptable for allowing people to live unsafely on our streets.
Young people who don't see their future in California anymore, who think that they have to move to another state to have that dream of owning their own home that we used to offer better than anywhere else in the world.
The gap between the rich and the poor grows wider by the minute. Prices are higher than ever. Faith in government's ability to do anything is lower than ever.
Anna, the results are certainly not set in stone yet. Given the volume of mail-in ballots across California and the number of candidates in this race, some 61 names on that ballot, we're still waiting for thousands of results to come in from major counties across the state, places like Sacramento, San Francisco, and right here in Los Angeles County. Election officials across the state have 30 days to count these ballots. Anna?
Nnamdi, as for that L.A. mayor's race, incumbent Democrat Karen Bass will advance. We just got a little sneak peek of her message. But former reality TV villain Spencer Pratt isn't far behind. Where exactly do things stand for that second runoff slot?
You know, that's exactly right, Anna. We know with about 60% of the vote counted, Karen Bass will be advancing. Depending on who you ask, it's either a good sign or bad. Good because, yes, she garnered the most votes in that primary contest, but bad because she's going to be the first incumbent mayor to face a runoff in more than 2 decades. You know, she struck, and that's a sign of some of the struggles she's faced in her first term, struggles that have allowed Spencer Pratt to go from long shot candidate to now real viable contender. And if things hold, he could emerge as one advance to that runoff this fall. But, you know, that call hasn't been made quite yet because we're still waiting for about 40% of vote totals to be counted. There is a chance that Nithya Raman, a progressive running to the left of Bass, could benefit from some of those remaining votes and possibly close that gap with Spencer Pratt. But as things stand, it is Bass and Pratt who are currently in the lead, and both made comments at their election night watch parties gesturing towards a runoff matchup between the two. Bass did so by leaning into her experience. Take a listen.
We've been fighting because we're not going to let somebody turn back our clock. We are not going to do that. We are going to continue moving our city forward because this is the greatest city in the world. I appreciate you for believing in me. I appreciate you for standing with me when others doubted me, because you know who I am. I have devoted my entire life to serving the city that I love, where I was born, and I'm going to continue to do that all the way to victory in November.
And again, Anna, despite the fact that that second runoff spot has not been called yet, Pratt already teasing more debates with Mayor Bass and saying he's excited at the prospect to take her on.
Nnamdi Egwuonwu, Jillian Frankel, thank you both. As they point out, could still be days, even weeks, before we have the final results. So we just heard from Mayor Bass. Spencer Pratt also sounding very confident last night. Let's take a listen to his message.
Obviously, God wanted 5 more months of me exposing all the failures of our mayor. So it's going to be a fun ride. I hope she's ready.
Are you ready?
I mean, I was born for this, clearly. We can do debates every Friday if she would like. My opponents, it's very clear, are all pathological liars. They lie on all their statistics. They lie on the reality of the city. I will be taking on my opponents with facts and the truth. And the voters are going to see the truth. I don't need to convince liars to stop lying.
Larry, L.A., a deep blue city, Democratic mayor fighting for her political life. California, Democratic stronghold, but a Trump pick with a real shot at advancing in the runoff for governor. What does all of this tell you about voter priorities and voter enthusiasm right now?
Well, it tells me the numbers aren't in. Everybody else has an election day. California has an election month. And the remaining votes tend to be more Democratic. At least that has been true in the past. So I'm not sure Hilton will even maintain his first position. He's very likely to be the second place winner. As far as Pratt's concerned, I think he's far enough ahead so that he will maintain that second position. Look, normally you would say Bass would win easily simply because of the party balance in L.A., but she's had a very difficult term, and she is not terribly popular despite the vote yesterday. So, Pratt has a shot. I wouldn't call it a great chance, but he has a shot to win.
Philip, one other notable mention in California, Tom Steyer's campaign for governor was almost completely self-funded. He spent $200 million on campaign ads, according to the AP, more than all of the other candidates and PACs combined. Is there a broader lesson here about money in politics if he fails to make the runoff or if he does advance?
Well, I think it's certainly a lesson that he hasn't learned. He's run for various offices in the past, spent a lot of money, and not done particularly well. But yeah, I don't know. I mean, California is a very expensive market, and it really does remain to be seen. I think it's really important. There's a reason that Larry is the figurehead for political analysis. He's exactly right. Like, we have a lot of votes to come in. We'll see how Steyer does. Pratt in Los Angeles, yes, it's the case that he's in second now, but if you add up the first place and third place, the left-leaning candidate in L.A., you get over 50% for the Democrats in that race. You can see that basically the Republicans got about 40%, and that's before all the votes are counted at the state level too. So yeah, it's not a good showing for Steyer, particularly Becerra had sort of consolidated support. California is a blue state. California is going to be a blue state, and I think that it's important that people not make too many assumptions based on these results 12 hours later.
Let's pivot to a red state, or at least what has been assumed to be a red state, and talk about Iowa. Larry, a rare primary loss for a Trump pick there, with Congressman Randy Feenstra coming up short in the Republican primary race for governor. Is that surprising? Does it say more about the Iowa GOP makeup or the particular candidates in that race?
Well, it's important to note because, of course, Trump has been touting his 38-0 victory margin in endorsing candidates and seeing them win in Republican primaries, which is totally different than a general election where independents and Democrats will have a lot to say, and they probably won't be pro-Trump. But Feenstra, the Republican favorite, endorsed by Trump, who lost the Republican gubernatorial nomination in Iowa, was a terrible candidate. And you have to weigh that against Trump. Maybe Trump helped him, but he hurt himself badly enough so that he was outclassed by a candidate that I don't think people expected to win in the beginning.
Philip, in the Iowa Senate race, Democrats stayed united behind Josh Turek, considered the establishment pick since he was backed by Senator Schumer and others. What's the key takeaway there?
I think it's that Democratic voters really understand that this is a good moment for the party, potentially, that there is a lot of opportunity for Democrats, and that voters are making choices in these primaries, which are what would now analysts would assume would be the safer pick. And I think this is a relatively safe pick in that race. We've seen other safe picks, Tallarico winning in Texas against Jasmine Crockett, I think was probably the safer pick, if you will, made by Democratic voters there, just at least according to perceptions. And I think the party understands, okay, we have a chance to do something here. The voters in the party understand that they have a chance to do something in this election cycle. And I think this is probably a reflection of that.
Larry, peer into that crystal ball of yours. Is Iowa a realistic Senate pickup for Democrats, or are they going to end up sinking millions into another mirage?
Are they favored right now? No. Is it possible, and even more than possible, that they could win it? Yes, because this candidate is very impressive. I've watched a good deal of what is at least on YouTube. I haven't been to Iowa to see him personally, but he's very impressive. He comes across as what he is, a remarkable person who has managed to survive a spina bifida, which is difficult. He got it probably through damaged genes given to him by his father, because his father was a Vietnam veteran and came into contact with Agent Orange, the poison that we spread all over Vietnam. I think it's very possible. And now it's true that the Republicans have a big edge there. It's true that Trump won Iowa by large margins in 3 presidential elections, the last time by 13 points. So this is no picnic. You know, it's not going to be easy for Democrats to win it, but they actually have a shot because they have a strong gubernatorial candidate in Rob Sand, and I think they have a strong Senate candidate now in Turek.
And Larry, a major trend this cycle seems to be it's a bad time to be an incumbent in both parties. What's driving that?
Well, there's always a certain amount of anti-incumbency, particularly directed at those who are connected in some way to corruption or scandal, or in this election, Donald Trump. And that's what's really hurting Republicans. It is an incumbency. It's the fact that Donald Trump is so unpopular himself, that prices are so high, that people are unhappy with the war with Iran, a war of choice that isn't working out very well, and high gas prices. So you put all those things together, and I don't think it matters all that much whether you're a Republican incumbent or a Republican challenger. You have extra burdens this year.